I'd like to respond about why Latinos for Trump. Okay, in my case, and I can't speak for all Latinos, of course, if there are Latinos out there that are voting for Trump, then you'd have to speak directly with them because there are so many different topics and issues that might affect each individual. For me, Latino for Trump basically means freedom. Okay, the Constitution is hanging by a thread and has been for a while now. Okay, for a few decades now, it's been hanging by a thread. And slowly but surely, socialism is starting to creep into our country. And most Americans don't recognize it and don't care. If you talk to them about it, they'll tell you that perhaps, and this is something that, seems to be trending, that the Constitution is an old document that is outdated and that needs to be changed or even destroyed and removed completely. Well, the truth is that the Constitution was written by very wise men that took time to study it out and decide exactly how they wanted to make something that was going to limit the power of government, prevent tyranny from happening and chaos and that type of thing, and give the power to the people. Okay, and this was something that they decided to do because they had taken a look at other kingdoms, other civilizations where things had gone south, where bad kings had ruled, where people had been enslaved, where a lot of bad things had happened. And this wasn't just one group of people. This was many different groups of people. So they took this history and they decided, we're going to create a land where this isn't going to happen. It's not going to be able to happen because we're going to stop these things from happening by creating this document that has checks and balances to make sure that government is there up to a certain point and that government is limited and that the power was given to the people so that when men get into power, they're not able to become corrupt and begin to enslave the people or become bad leaders. Okay, those checks and balances are starting to get tampered with and messed with, and ultimately our Constitution is beginning to hang by a thread. Okay, Donald Trump, the president that we have now, and he said it at the last debate. He said to Joe Biden, "You're the reason I'm here. If you guys had run the show properly, and I hadn't gotten so fed up, pretty much, I wouldn't be here." That's the way a lot of Americans feel. They feel that what has gone on in the leadership of this country is pretty much so many things that violate our Constitution or are beginning to. Well, this president is fighting for that, fighting for our freedom, fighting to give the power back to the people and to make sure that socialism, because socialism is the step before communism, okay? Socialism is where they talk you into it. Socialism is where they tell you, everything's going to be okay. The government's going to take care of you. My first question would be, when has anything that the government has done ever been smooth sailing? It hasn't. It's usually been quite the disaster. Okay. But anyway, they talk you into it. They lure you into it. And that's pretty much what socialism is. It's like a fantasy fairy tale place where they tell the people everything's going to be fine. We're going to take care of you. Well, wherever this has worked or wherever this has been implemented in other countries, it has never worked. If you look back at history, take a look at places like Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba. Okay, the people there have had to escape, the ones that were lucky enough to be able to escape, starved to death. Look at Venezuela. People were resorted to eating dogs. Okay, there's no food. A lot of people are suffering in places like that because the government has let them down. And can that happen in the United States? Absolutely, it can happen in the United States. Okay, now we look to the Constitution, we look to the founding principles of this country to make sure that this nation is kept in exceptional place, an exceptional country, okay? We look to that document, and I'm telling you that if we do not start to understand what the Constitution means for the people and how it protects us, then you're missing the big picture for people that are voting for Trump. People that are voting for Trump stand for their freedom and your freedom. And I urge you to do your homework on why America is an exceptional country. Do your homework on it and find out for yourself and look at who is fighting for you. Donald Trump, he has said it himself. He's not a politician. He is a businessman. He was an outsider looking in, and he decided to come in with all of his imperfections, with all of his frustration about what's going on in the government. Okay, he was a businessman, a wealthy businessman who made his own money, and he's out there fighting for us. Okay, good thing he's not running for pastor of the year or bishop of the year. He's not perfect. He never said that. In fact, when he was debating at the very beginning, he pretty much showed everybody who he was. He was not going to sugarcoat things. He was not going to, tell you that he was something that he isn't. He told you exactly who he was, and the people voted him in. And now he's keeping all of the promises that he made. And okay, let's go back to Latinos for Trump. Why would a Latino vote for Trump? Here's the man saying, build the wall, build the wall. A nation is not a nation unless it has borders. Okay, try to go to Canada and go into the Niagara Falls. There's two waterfalls. There's one on the American side, one on the Canada side. I've been to that border, and I have had to sit there for more than an hour with those men checking our ID, searching our car. And I'm thinking, why are you guys making such a big deal? We're just here to see the waterfall. And they know that. They know a lot of people come in to see the waterfall. You know what? It's their country. It's their border, and they can run it however they want to. When we were in, we finally got in, we got to see the waterfall on the Canada side, which is way prettier than the one on the American side. This nation, we can decide who and what comes in this nation. It used to be people would come in here by merit. I used to live in Mexico. I had friends who wanted to come to the United States, and they had to get good grades. They had to show that they were involved in things, that they were smart, that they could speak English. And then they would apply for their visas to come over here through merit. That's how it was 30 years ago. Okay, I remember that. I actually remember when it used to be that way. Now people don't want to have to go through all of that. They just want to come in here, and that is not the way that it used to be. It used to be they wanted to make sure that people were coming in through merit. Now they want to do away with that completely. What do you end up with? You end up with, who knows? You end up with bad gang members, MS-13 members that come in here, and a lot of those people do not have anything on their mind except to rob and plunder and do the only things that they know how to do, and bring crime into our cities. Not just that, what about other bad people like ISIS and things like that want to creep into the leaky borders? That's a problem, okay? And if you don't remember 9/11, okay, what happened 9/11? We can't afford to have that. Those people want to kill Americans, okay? They want to kill it. They've said it, and they're not afraid to say it. We can't afford leaky borders. This has been a problem. So the man went in there in the beginning and said, build the wall. And a lot of people were glad to finally hear that. And then this whole thing about kids in cages. First of all, if you watch this last debate, I'm so glad that Trump finally addressed this, because I've known this already for years, and so has he. But he finally said at the debate, these cages, and they call them cages because they have a wire fence around them, some of these buildings. But this is where they keep the kids separate from the parents, because the parents, a lot of them, are having to get checked and charged for their for being illegal and crossing over. They separate the children during that time. But those were built during the Obama years. And I'm so glad that he finally said that. And this is something that Congress has to pass these policies to change the way that it's set up at the border and the way that they do the sorting of the families and, separating the kids from the parents while the parents are being charged or going through this process. This is a policy that has to be changed through Congress. And the president isn't going to just... he's not the one in charge of everything, okay? There's ways of doing things. There's things that have to go through these the House, the Congress, the Senate, and ultimately then the president signs. We've seen that here recently with the packages, the relief packages that they're trying to pass. It's not as easy as you think it is. Now, if you have a president that's executive order happy, like the last administration, the last 8 years that we had, that administration was just executive order happy, and they would just forget about checking with everyone. Let's just push it through. And so this president does follow that order that we have. And if you don't believe that, take a look at what was happening in the cities like Portland and places where they were burning down, Seattle, where they were burning down the cities. Okay, if you go by the order of things, the governors are supposed to take care of their states. If they need help from the National Guard, they are to ask for it. But a lot of these governors wouldn't. They wouldn't. And I think a lot of them wanted to see Trump come in and break that order and say, we're going to go in there and send the National Guard, and we're not going to wait on the governor. And he didn't do that. Trump did not do that. He said, if the governors call me in, call the National Guard in, then we'll gladly go in. And I think there was one that did call him in, and they were able to put a stop to the riots within a matter of hours when they brought the National Guard in. But this order is there, and it's placed there for the governors to have, that they have their role in leading their state. And of course, if they invite the president to come in, then that's something that they have to do. They have to tell him, we need you in here. Otherwise, the president's not going to do that. And here you have a president that's honoring those things. And the story goes on and on, guys. There's so many topics and things that you can go over. And people will tell you, well, I'm voting for Trump for this reason, for that reason, for the other reason. Me personally, this Latina for Trump is voting for Trump because of the freedom and the rights that we have as a people through the Constitution, the sacred document, the Constitution that was written by men of God, men who said themselves that they felt they were being led by the Holy Spirit. And of course, a lot of miracles did follow during the fight for this country. If you look back at our American history, it's a beautiful thing. Take a look at it, study it out for yourself. And I urge you guys, if you're on the left or if you're on the right, do your homework and get out and vote. Latinos for Trump 2020.